Hi everybody and welcome to an Age of Fantasy Skirmish battle report. High Elves versus Vampiric Undead. Haleth, Faewynn and the High Elves have traveled deep into the lands of the Evil Necromancer. They have traveled fast and silent, but their allies Galtrin and the Eternal Wardens have no idea where they are. They are also being followed and can hear the howling of wolves at night, closer and closer. When they spot an abandoned guard post, they decide to face their followers and also try to reveal their position by lighting a beacon. On the opposite side of a river, a large ghoul approaches, commanding hordes of zombies as well as dreadful wolves. The High Elves must seek to take out the undead before they get too close. The High Elves will deploy in the center of the battlefield here with the blue color, and the Undead will be able to deploy in both of the red zones. And here we have a top view of the abandoned guard post. There will be 4 objectives on the battlefield. Each objective will earn 1 victory point to whoever controls it at the end of turn 4. And the High Elves will have a special objective, Conserve, meaning that they must keep 50% of their units alive, and the Undead have the special objective, Headhunter, meaning that they must take down Faewynn. And as seen here, the High Elves deployed in the center of the battlefield. And the Undead have deployed a unit of zombies and 1 two-headed zombie wolf at the right side of the battlefield, another zombie wolf, 2 units of zombies, the ghoul leader and a werewolf on the left side of the battlefield on the opposite side of the bridge. Haleth is armed with great bow and hand weapon. He is crazed and now he's also hunter, which means he can rush and shoot afterwards. Faewynn is a wizard. She's armed with a spear and she has bitter rivalry and she's a herbalist. Then we have 2 warriors, Morrigan armed with dual hand weapons and Lionett armed with great weapon. We have a lion warrior Elwyn, he has stealth and fearless and is armed with great axe. And finally Shadow Sister Miriel, she's armed with hand weapon and magic short bow, and she has the quick shot ability so she can also rush and shoot. The Undead is led by a ghoul leader. He has regeneration, a top value of 3, and he's a necromancer. Then we have 2 two-headed zombie wolves with fast, furious scout, and of course Undead, and 3 units of zombies. They are slow, and they are also undead of course, and finally a werewolf with scout, strider, a top value of 3, and also undead. So before the first round, all the units with the scout ability will be able to move up to 12 inches. So the 2 zombie wolves here will approach the center of the battlefield, this one very close to one of the objectives, and this zombie wolf all the way up to the bridge. And the final unit with the scout ability, the werewolf, will be able to cross the river here with the strider ability and hide behind this rock. So let's roll off to see who will activate first. The Undead will wield the green dice and the High Elves will put their faith in the purple dice. A 3 for the High Elves, a 1 for the Undead. Faewynn, Haleth and the High Elves will activate first. Now let's go to round number 1. First unit to activate is Shadow Sister Miriel. She rushes up on top of the palisade here because she has spotted the invading undead. And remember, she has the quick shot ability, so she's able to shoot with her magic short bow, and she targets the zombie wolf. She will need a 3 to hit, and with a 5 she has a solid hit. It's AP nothing, so the wolf will defend with a roll of 5. And no defense here. The wolf is hit by the magic shot bow, takes 1 wound, goes down, and is forced to roll on the wound chart. And with a 6, the zombie wolf is pierced by the arrow and taken out. What a great first activation for the elves here. Already one undead down. The next zombie wolf activates and is out for revenge. It rushes and charges against Morrigan. 3 vicious bites hitting on a 5 and 1 hit against Morrigan here. The wolf is furious, so it will get 1 extra attack. A total of 3, and Morrigan will defend on a roll of 4 because the vicious bite is AP nothing. And she defends the bite. Now she can fight back. She's armed with dual hand weapons, so 2 attacks hitting on 3s. At least 1 hit. And the other one is good as well. So 2 hits against the wolf. They are also AP nothing. The wolf will defend with rolls of 5 or more. And the zombie wolf will block one of the dual hand attacks, but the other one will go through. So a failed charge. The wolf is wounded with 1 wound and also forced to roll on the wound chart. Maybe it's already over. No, it's a 1. So the zombie wolf is stunned. Next unit to activate is Faewynn. She has a priority, and that is to capture the objective here in the guard tower. And she also tries to cast a spell at Elwyn and Lionett. She will cast the spell Protection, and she will need a 4 for it to go off. And she fails with a 3. The target was to give them +1 in defense next time they would take any hits, but, well, not this time. So the zombies are on the move now. They attack from the right side of the battlefield. They are slow, so they cannot reach the objective, but they are on their way. And even though undead forces rush in from all sides, Lionett also targets the mission objective. He will attempt to capture the objective and light the beacon. So quickly he throws a torch into the beacon, and soon after flames rise and the beacon is lit. And that also attracts the attention of the Ghoul leader. He rushes forward and he captures the objective on the bridge. And from this position he is also within 6 inches of Miriel, so he will attempt a spell. The spell Spectral Wind against Miriel. And if it's successful, and he will need a roll of 3, and he is successful, Miriel will take 3 AP2 hits. So powerful magic against Miriel. So she will need 3 defense rolls of 6 to avoid being hit here. And even though she makes 1 of them, the other 2 will go through and she goes down. And with 2 wounds on the wound chart, this could be the end for the Shadow Sister. And with a roll of 2, she's not knocked out, but only stunned. Haleth activates next, and he has several choices here. He could target the approaching zombies here inside the guard post, or he could move and target the approaching Ghoul leader. He chooses to rush to the center of the battlefield, slightly in cover behind this rock, and from this position he can target the Ghoul leader with his great bow. He has 3 shots and he hits on a roll of 4. So 2 hits. The great bow is an AP1 weapon, and the Ghoul has a defense of 5, so he will have to come up with defense rolls of 6 to avoid the arrows. And he fails both his defense rolls, but he is a Ghoul, he has regeneration, so he has a second chance, potentially 2 wounds, but with a roll of 5 or 6, he will regenerate. And he does not regenerate any of the hits. A great hit by Haleth, 2 arrows into the Ghoul leader. It's not enough to take him down, but he is heavily wounded now. Maybe the ghoul went a little too far forward, so now the zombies rush to aid him. They pass him on the bridge by moving as far as possible, and then they take position in front of him. So, for example, further arrows will not be able to hit him, at least not from the front. Morrigan activates, and she charges into the stunned zombie wolf, removing it from the game. An easy casualty. She could have attacked the zombies, but might be a bit too risky. And with both his fast but rather stupid zombie wolves out of the game, the ghoul leader will have to put his faith in the zombies. So the second zombie group here, or the third rather, also move towards the bridge. Elwyn could attack the zombies on the bridge, but it seems a bit overwhelming. Instead, he tries to close the gap here in the backfield by attacking this group of zombies. He has 2 attacks with his great axe, and he will hit on a 3, so both of them hit the zombies. And the axe is AP nothing, but the zombies will still need 6s to block the attacks. They have a rather low defense, and they miss both of them. So the 2 zombies are shredded by the axe and removed from the game. Now the last remaining zombie will be able to fight back with 2 claw attacks, hitting on a roll of 5. And one of them hits. The clumsy zombie manages to hit once. AP nothing, so a 4-up defense roll. And Elwyn fails his defense here. He took down 2 zombies, but he also goes down himself. What a catastrophe. 1 wound to Elwyn. And let's see the roll on the wound chart. 6. The catastrophe is complete. He took out 2 zombies with a charge, but he went down and out himself. The smell of blood in the air attracts the werewolf now. This is the last activation of the first round, and he has Strider, so he can easily move past the wall behind the guard tower and also move slightly on the other side of the guard tower. From this position, he will be hidden from most of the elves, but he will be close enough to charge Faewynn and the objective in the next round. And that concludes the first round of this battle. Heavy fighting going on both sides of the battlefield. 2 objectives are under elf control, and the undead have captured the objective on the bridge. The 4th objective at the guardhouse is not yet captured, and none of the forces have completed their special objective either. Let's proceed to round number 2. The elves activate first because they finished first in the previous round, and Haleth is the first one to activate. He targets the big bad wolf. It might be the most dangerous enemy at the moment. 3 hits, but on 5 this time because the werewolf is in cover. And with a reroll, 2 hits are made. And with the AP1 of the great bow, the werewolf will have to come up with defense rolls of 5 or more. And one of them is good, the other one fails, so 1 arrow will hit the werewolf. 1 wound. And as predicted, the werewolf will target Faewynn and the objective now, and this could be a turning point in the battle. The werewolf charges against her, and it will make 4 vicious bite attacks, hitting on a roll of 3 against Faewynn. But it also has to pass her spear first with a dangerous terrain test. And with a roll of 6, it's good enough. So, 4 attacks, but it does not look that good. 2 of the attacks fail to hit Faewynn, and they are AP nothing, and Faewynn has a defense of 4, so she can block them, and she does. She blocks all of the werewolf attacks, A vicious charge ends up in nothing, but now Faewynn can fight back against the werewolf. 3 spear attacks, and they hit on 3. So she fails a couple of them. 2, she is shaken by the attack here, but 1 hit against the werewolf, and it's AP 1. The werewolf will need a 5, so that's not enough. It will take the 2nd wound now. Not enough to bring it down, but it will have to back a few steps back here. What a fight. On the palisade here, Muriel goes back into action. She is heavily wounded, but now back in the game. But it could be for a very short period of time, because the first group of zombies on the bridge will just be able to reach her with their slow 8-inch charge. 6 claw attacks hitting on 5s, and they manage to fail 5 out of the 6 attacks, but 1 could also prove to be enough. She will defend on a 5, and she defends. The only attack that hit her, Muriel is still very much alive on the top of the palisade. She can now fight back with her hand weapon. Also 1 attack hitting on a 3, and she fails. No one can blame her. And the disappointed zombies will back off down the palisade. Lionett here just saw his shadow brother go down in a fight against this zombie last round. Now he charges against the zombie. 1 attack hitting on a 3. And he fails. He swings his great weapon, but without any effect. Instead, the zombie will fight back, and the zombie also fails both attacks this time. Lionett backs off. And the nightmare is not yet over for Muriel. The ghoul leader once again targets her with a spectral wind spell, and he will be successful with a roll of 3. And once again, he is successful. So poor Muriel will take 3 AP 2 hits, defending on a 6. And she really does everything she can to stay in the game. She will block 2 of the spell attacks, but fail the last one, and that will take her to 3 wounds. And she now has to make a roll on the wound chart of 2 or less to survive this. And it has proven to be just too much for her. With a roll of 5, she's knocked out by the ghoul's spell. So 2 elves are out of the game now, and very satisfied with himself, the ghoul leader rushes in cover behind the guardhouse here, very close to the objective. Morrigan, on the other side of the house, has the opportunity to attack him, but instead she chooses to attack the stubborn zombie here with 2 dual hand weapons. She will hit with a roll of 3, and she makes 1 of them. The zombie will block it with a roll of 6, and this time it's unsuccessful, and it goes down with 1 wound. And the roll on the wound chart is a 3, so it's not yet knocked out of the game. It's still in the game, but stunned. The zombies on the bridge, they have captured the objective, so they can leave it now and still have it, and they move their maximum distance of 8 inches. They rush towards the center of the battlefield here in cover behind the rock. And now Faewynn activates. She is captured here in the guard tower, and she will try to remove the werewolf with a drain spell. She will need a 3, and that could give the werewolf the final hit. But she fails her spell. The werewolf is safe. She could charge the werewolf, but she chooses not to, because if she cannot take it out, it might turn against herself. And she also knows that the elves will activate first in the next round, so it could be a wise decision. Final activation of the second round, the stubborn zombie who just went down jumps back up into action. At the end of the second round, the undead have flooded the center of the battlefield. The ghoul leader as well as the werewolf are both very close to the objectives, but the elves still have control of 2 of the objectives. The undead controls 1. And none of the special objectives have been completed either. Remember, the undead have to take out Faewynn, and the elves must keep at least half of their forces alive. It's time for the third round. Faewynn, the strategic mastermind of the elves, considered the options here at the beginning of the third round. Haleth could target the werewolf and maybe take him out for good. Some of the other elves could attack the ghoul leader. He is also wounded, and remove him from the battle. But instead, Faewynn decides to take destiny into her own hands. She targets the zombies first with a spell. And she will choose the spell Quench, where a target enemy will take 7 hits. But she will need a roll of 4. And with a roll of 6, she unleashes her magic against the unit of zombies. They will now take 7 hits, and they have to defend with rolls of 6. Ooh, and they really do their very best here. 4 of the magic attacks are blocked, but still 3 going through, so 2 zombies are immediately removed, and the remaining zombie takes 1 hit and 1 wound, and he will be forced to roll on the wound chart. But with a roll of 3, the last zombie is stunned. But Faewynn is not finished yet. She decides to charge the werewolf on the stairs of the guard tower. She has 3 spear attacks, and she will hit on a roll of 3. And what a charge! 3 devastating spear hits against the werewolf. It's AP 1, so the werewolf will defend with rolls of 5. Remember, it's already wounded with 2 wounds. And it completely fails each and every one of the defense rolls. That will take the werewolf to 5 wounds now. It will stumble down the stairs in a pool of blood, and the roll on the wound chart, it must be a 2 or less. Ooh, and it's not over yet. The werewolf is heavily wounded, but only stunned. The ghoul must do something now. It has no one in line of sight for a spell, but it can move in and charge against Morrigan and also capture the objective at the same time. The ghoul attacks with 3 poisonous claw attacks hitting on 4s. So 2 of them hit, but they are not poisonous. That would have taken a roll of 6. And it's AP nothing. Morrigan will block with a roll of 4. He blocks 1, but the other claw attack claws into her and takes her down with 1 wound. And maybe it's too much for her. She will roll on the wound chart, and she survives. She is stunned, but the ghoul has captured the final objective. Morrigan immediately activates, and she jumps back up on her feet. Otherwise, she would have been exposed on the ground, and the zombie very close to her could take her out easily. Now, instead, the zombie activates and charges against Lionett. And he has 2 claw attacks hitting on 5s. Both of them fail. Lionett will be able to fight back with 1 attack hitting on a 3. And once again, they swing their weapons at each other without hitting anything. The zombie backs off. And in the background, Haleth still has his activation. He charges the heavily wounded werewolf, and the wolf has made its last howl. The last full-strength unit of zombies move closer behind the guardhouse, so they are not exposed to any kind of shooting, and they take position here. And then the battle between Lionett and the zombie is not over yet. Lionett charges again. He will need a 6 because he is fatigued, and he fails. And the zombie, of course, also needs 6s to hit. But since it has 2 claw attacks, it will hit with one of them. Maybe Lionett has not really thought this through. He's hit once. He will defend with a roll of 4. And that fails, so he takes 1 wound. That zombie has proven to be very, very annoying. He goes down with 1 wound. The roll on the wound chart, it's a 1. He is stunned, but that could have turned out to be a disaster for the elves. And the last activation of the 3rd round, another zombie gets back up. They are very hard to keep down. Both forces have taken casualties during this round, but none of them are down to half strength yet. And the battle is completely tied. The undead have control over 2 of the objectives, and the elves the remaining 2. None of them have yet completed their special objectives. Nothing is decided yet. Let's go to the 4th and final round. And Haleth once again use his hunter ability to rush and guard the beacon objective, and also fire his great bow against the ghoul leader. 3 shots, hitting on 4s. He hits twice against the ghoul, and the ghoul is already wounded with 2 wounds, and the ghoul will have to come up with 6s to block the 2 arrows here. And he fails both of them. But he has a second chance. He can regenerate the 2 wounds with a roll of 5 or 6, and he regenerates 1 of them. And that still means he's hit once, and that takes him to a total of 3 wounds. That will take him down and force him to roll on the wound chart. It could be all over for the undead now if they lose their leader. And with a roll of 6, the ghoul is shot out of the game, and the objective once again under no control. A great decision by the elves, but not without sacrifice. The zombie now charges in against Lionett, who is stunned on the ground, and it takes him out. And that takes the elves down to half strength, forcing them to morale tests at the end of the round. And the undead are also down below half strength, maybe more now. Faewynn targets the zombie with a drain spell. It will go off with a roll of 3, but she fails again from the guard tower. The zombie is safe in the first place. And that forces Faewynn to leave her position and charge the zombie instead, with 3 spear attacks hitting on 3s. And she makes 1 of them, fails 1, and makes the final one. 2 spear hits against the zombie. As usual, 6s to defend, and it fails both of them. So 2 additional hits to the zombie, now taking it to 3. And with a roll of 3 on the wound chart, a total of 6, the zombie has left the battlefield. Now this group of zombies could try to take out Faewynn, and that will give them the special objective Headhunter. But instead they choose to charge against Morrigan and also capture the 4th objective once again, even the score. 6 claw attacks hitting on 5. And again, they only hit once. 1 out of 6 attacks. But let's see, it could be enough. Morrigan, of course, has to defend first with a roll of 4. And it's, of course, very crucial that she defends that attack, because if she goes down, the elves have no chance of capturing this objective. and she blocks the attack with a roll of 6. Superior performance by Morrigan. She can attack the zombies back now with 2 dual hand weapon attacks, hitting on 3. And she hits 1 zombie back. And let's see the defense roll. No, 1 zombie is removed, and they back off. So the zombies have taken the objective, but Morrigan is still standing. And now she activates, and she does not attack anybody. Instead, she strategically moves behind the zombies and close enough to contest the objective. So at the moment, with all the activation of the 4th round complete, the elves have captured 2 objectives, the undead have captured 1, and the final objective is contested by both. None of the special objectives have been completed. So at the moment, the score in victory points is 3 points for the elves, 1 point to the undead. But we need morale tests. First, this zombie who miraculously is still in the game. With a roll of 1 or 2, it will take a wound, but it will survive the entire battle. Incredible. Now the 2 remaining zombies here, and they roll 2 rolls of 2. They will take 2 hits. So one of them will go down, and the other one will take 1 wound. And let's see how that will affect the game. A roll of 2, it's only stunned, but it's no longer able to contest the objective. Now it's time for Haleth. In the past, he has proven to bail out in the last seconds of the battle, and this time is no exception. He fails his morale test. What about Morrigan? She will need a roll of 3. And with a roll of 2, she also leaves. Now the objective here is completely uncontested. Could be falling apart here. Faewynn needs a 3, and she stands strong as the final elf on the battlefield. And that will secure the victory to the High Elves. 2 objectives, 2 victory points to the elves, and 1 objective and 1 victory point to the undead. The final objective here is not contested by anybody. And the undead did not manage to take out Faewynn, and the elves kept 50% of their forces alive, even though 2 of them routed at the end of the 4th round. They are still alive, so they will complete their special objective. A hard-fought and strategic victory for the High Elves. Player of the game, definitely Faewynn here, closely followed by, well, the annoying zombie. Thanks a lot for watching this battle report. I hope you'll join me for future bad reps.